Blessings in Jesus' name. I just want you to consider something for a moment. How do the Court of Appeal think that in one morning in Dublin, not even the whole day, just one morning, and only a number of hours, maybe 3-4 hours, that they can overturn or overrule what the High Court came to, a conclusion that the High Court came to over days, and much more rigorous investigation? How do the Court of Appeal think, after accepting an appeal a month and 4 days late after the final date to appeal had passed? How do they think that merely in a morning's hearing that they can have found something that would overturn the ruling of the High Court? A rigorous judicial review carried out in the High Court being overturned by listening for 3 hours to a barrister who lied in the Court of Appeal in Dublin. He lied. He didn't even have the basics right. He thinks I agree that I behaved in an antisocial manner, that I accepted that. Does somebody who accepts that they've behaved in an antisocial manner and the ruling of a judge then defy it because he feels has a reasonable excuse not to comply with it? Does somebody who agrees with the position of a judge that he has behaved in an antisocial manner then appeal to the Circuit Court to overturn the judge's decision? Does somebody who agrees with the judge who called him antisocial then seek certiorari from a higher court, from the High Court, and a judicial review of the judge's decision and decision-making process to have it overturned and overruled? And by the way, the High Court did overrule it. The High Court quashed all the convictions. But there's a barrister lying to the Court of Appeal, telling them that I agreed with the judge's decision. How does he expect that there's a judicial review in the Court of Appeal if I agreed with the judge's decision? How was that barrister allowed to say that in the court without the judge reprimanding him? Or the judges, there were 3 of them there. 3 judges in the Court of Appeal. How did they expect not to reprimand that barrister who lied about the fundaments of the case? That's the level of corruption we're now seeing in the Court of Appeal in Ireland. He basically said, Stephen agrees that he's antisocial. He might say something different now. It couldn't be more demonic. Demons like to put things in your mouth. They like to say you said things that you didn't say. If that's the extent to which they'll lie about me when I'm sitting there, what would they do when I'm not sitting there? Yet, the High Court, after rigorous investigation and a lengthy case, ruled that all the convictions should be quashed. Yet in a morning discussing proportionality of a civil order, does the Court of Appeal think that they've done a better and more rigorous job than the High Court? When all we got to witness was a lying barrister at the very end of the court case, who said, Stephen agrees that he's antisocial, and about that testing of the constitutionality. Nothing seems to have come about that. Right, that's it, the judge says. That'll be all. We'll reserve our decision and we'll be in touch with everybody. That actually happened. Does the Court of Appeal in 3 hours think that they're going to overturn a decision of the High Court which took days, weeks, months, years to come to, based on the testimony of a lying barrister, who they must know is lying? Because if I agreed with the decision of the judge that I've behaved in an antisocial manner, there wouldn't have been the hearing yesterday. Because that was a judicial review of a judicial review. So how does a barrister suppose I agreed that I was antisocial, yet a judicial review ensued? The two are mutually exclusive. You can't agree with the judge and review his judicial process. It's madness what's happening in those courts. If they'll lie about me to that extent, and anybody watching knows that was a blatant and hideous lie, that if they lie about me to that extent while I'm sitting there, to what extent are they lying about me when I'm not there? It was almost mockingly that the constitutionality of those sections wasn't tested. And when I was brought there under the pretense that the sections were going to be tested yesterday, they're still lying to me to get me into court. And then they'll lie about me while I'm sitting there. They're thugs. That's thuggery. It's criminal to the highest extent. On the one hand, they'll say, this is a very weighty topic, this is a very weighty subject matter. And then they'll permit a barrister of the state to lie to that extent. Right out in the open court. A barefaced lie. Absolutely disgusting behaviour. Let it be rebuked in Jesus' name. Blessings.